run them jewels fast, run them jewels fast, run them slow mo.
Hey.
We're joined tonight by the air representative for Belize Rural South, who has stayed in the dangerous Belize city, so kindly joining me on my show. Abner Andre Perez, he's known to most people as Andre, but for those of us who know him from a young age, his name is actually Abner. So, Minister Perez, Minister of the Blue Economy and Civil Aviation, thanks for joining us this evening. First of all, sir, to get right into it, what is the blue economy? Because when many of us heard it, we thought it was some type of PUP stunt because PUP the BLU. But the blue economy is a very real thing that is gaining a lot of traction and currency right now. Explain.
First of all, Jules, thank you very much for having me here. It is an honor to be here on the show. I know you called me up last week to be part of this show. And I was warned. You said, you'll be prepared. Says,
well, I'm sure it's not Julius Expert that warned you, because
No.
he's a big fan.
No, it wasn't him. But indeed, it's good to be here. But in speaking about the blue economy, you are absolutely right. So many people thought it was like a sort of a ministry with a political implication. But then when you start to look around on what is really the blue economy, it is really actually an economic portfolio. And so many people were excited who are really familiar with the blue economy. Actually, we are the second country in the Caribbean to actually create a ministry called the blue economy, just behind Barbados. But what I'm saying is that the blue economy relates to what all is our blue space, or blue waters. Call it blue capital, blue investments. So if we can focus our minds in what is our marine waters or our marine spatial coastal waters, there is value in there. And that is what is the vision of our political party, the vision of this new government, that we understand that there is value in there. Therefore, it is an economic portfolio, and it is not to be confused as an environmental portfolio, because it is not. It is a balance of both, whereby we seek to find the equilibrium of sustainable growth, where we maintain preserving our environment, but at the same time attracting sound investment, thoroughly vetted investments. This is where we have to be careful, and that is the responsibility entrusted in the Blue Economy Ministry.
No, so when we look at seas and coasts, etc., explain to me how we weigh these competing interests of, for example, the coastal zone and all the developments that want to happen with cruise tourism. We know that there are three major projects being floated for cruise tourism along the Belize District coast. So explain to me where you see yourself with this, in terms of, we know one of them has to happen, or maybe more than one will happen. How do you position yourself?
Well, as I said, the key component here is equilibrium. Let's take it on a three-part, since you're mentioning three different entities here. If we look at the Port Coral, if you're talking about State Bank already, that is already well on its way to be a reality very shortly in the next year or so. It all seems to be a place that is in compliance. And that has, I would say, fairly to say that it has the blessings of the Blue Economy Ministry, because we are keenly watching it. We have visited the site. We believe that it has potential to be part of the Blue Economy model, that whereby the investments of coming cruise ship tourism can live side by side with preserving the environment. We believe this is a perfect example. As to the other ones there, we must follow what is due process. So for now, I believe that State Bank should be given an opportunity to see how it goes about. Now, in terms of cruise ship tourism industry on a broader sense, but Belize is not infinite. Let's understand it. Belize is not something that is infinite. It's not a huge country. Everything has limits. So at some point in time, we must draw our lines. There is limits, the law of diminishing returns. We must take that into consideration in economics. So there must be some kind of limitations. So for now, I would focus on what is State Bank. They have been on the pipeline for so many years. So we must give that an opportunity for let it unfold and unravel, and we monitor it carefully. And I believe that it's a good opportunity here.
Does that project, as you envision it, include a causeway, because that's a critical differentiation. As we know, the causeway extends over what would be, or the plan originally, as I had heard it, extends over what would be the Swallow Key Manatee Sanctuary.
Well, it's in their plans.
But it doesn't have, does it have environmental approval?
Well, all of that has to, when it come across, we have to make due process. We have all of these. Remember that whenever to build a causeway, there are several different ministries that have to weigh in on this. If you want to talk about the blue economy, there are many different components that should belong in the blue economy, but it's not that way, because the blue economy would be able to encompass so many different components that are no longer, that are not presently in the ministry. For example, we must work together, and that's the most important thing. The Ministry of Sustainable Development, the Ministry of Natural Resources, and the Ministry of Blue Economy, and by extent, of course, the Ministry of Tourism. All of these must be put in place. So whenever that causeway comes into place, all of these ministries must have a say in these places. Let due process happen. Let's make informed decisions. We must have empirical evidence that whenever this causeway comes around, everybody benefits from it.
But if the project was approved without a causeway, the approval did not include the causeway, how can it add on a causeway and expect that it will be approved?
There are, let's put it this way, Jules. Let's look, that was part of the plan to build the causeway. But at this point in time, we must work with these people, what they have on State Bank, and what is Port Coral. To look at it on the way of looking ahead of the causeway is something that is way ahead of the game. It's a big investment. We do not know if these people have the investment. We don't know if the Port Coral is going to be successful for them to move in the second phase. So I'm saying that let's give them an opportunity to perform and see, and let them, what happens. We have seen empirical evidence. For example, they tell us that every time a cruise ship lands there, we're talking about in excess of $75,000 per ship that will be left in this country. And that's a substantial amount of money. So we must give that some kind of opportunity to let it flow. And the second phase of whether building that causeway, well, by all means, we'll look at it.
If you feel that this meets the ideals of the blue economy, how then do you square with the Ministry of the Environment, of Sustainable Development and the Environment? You all run almost on the same agenda, but that ministry has recently given environmental approval for the port of Magical Belize in the southern Belize district.
Well, you know, this is where we have to, I go back to what I mentioned to you, what is due process. Let the process take place. They have been given the clearance. We have to wait to see what is NEAC, what is going to say. There are all legal implications in here. So for us to be saying that we are against it or for it, we are saying that let's follow the protocols. There are laws and rules and regulations that protect this country and also give rights to those who are investors. So at this point in time, we're saying due process. Let it go that way.
But Minister, it seems, I understand, but I think that you're kind of hiding behind this idea of due process in terms of, are we able to have more than one port?
No, that's another question. That's another question, that we have limitations. That at some point in time, we have to draw our lines that how many more investments do we need that is going to be weighing toward this tiny nation. For example, if you're going to have so many different cruise ship terminals, at what point in time, let's use an example of Cave Branch. How much more can they handle in terms of tourists visiting Cave Branch or Jaguar Park for that matter? How much can they handle? That is the most important thing there. So there are limitations. So therefore, the blue economy is stating that at some point in time, we must draw our lines and limitations. Now I'm saying State Bank is already way ahead of the game. Let's give them that opportunity.
So should we draw the line there?
I believe at some point in time, we have to draw the lines. And any different project that is there out there that is going to compromise our blue capital, the blue economy is never going to support. Absolutely clear about that.
So, do you think that the port of Magical Belize compromises the blue capital?
At this point in time, they have to do their studies. We need to look at empirical evidence. We need to look at that. To say at this
But
point
if they
in time,
got environmental clearance, obviously NEAC approved them, studies have been done.
Yes, but at this point in time, there are still other legal things that they need to follow through. So at this point in time, it is still, how do you say, it is still there in writing. So we need to see more, and I believe at this point in time, as I go back, due process, let's follow it. At this point in time, we must see what happens. And whenever it's time for the blue economy for approvals in the fisheries department and the coastal zone, then we will talk about it.
Is this something that causes, uh, I don't want to use the word rift because that may be a little sharp, but is there a difference of opinion? Differences of opinion are healthy. Is there a difference of opinion on this between different ministers in the cabinet?
That is what defines us as a democratic party. That is what defines us as the PUP. That is what defines us as a government. That when it comes to doing things, we have difference of opinions. We have a right to speak. And we are not the other party where we keep quiet and we accept whatever our leaders or superiors tell us. We will have our differences, of course. And I can tell you that we have certain ways that we are not in favor of. But we must let the democracy unfold. We need to be good listeners. That's another important factor here in cabinet.
But how will these divergent views eventually align, or will it end up in a state where, well, the blue economy is sticking with Port Coral, the Ministry of Environment is sticking with Port of Magical Belize, and maybe the Ministry of Finance is sticking with Waterloo?
No, well, at this point in time, whenever the decisions are made in cabinet, it's a unified effort that we come out with. That's important. We will speak, and we can throw our pitch, and we can show on behalf of the blue economy why it's not wise or why it is. But it is important, as far as the blue economy is concerned, we must make informed decisions. And I will always speak on that, informed decisions. Jules, I don't want to skew off, but the most important thing is that in the blue economy, we have a whole cadre of very much technical people who are very much on top of things. I have good advisors, technical advisors who are in the fisheries department, in the coastal zone. We have created the policy and planning unit where we have a director in there who guides us so that whenever the final decision that the Minister of the Blue Economy makes or says in the blue economy, you can rest assured that I'm making it as an informed decision and taking into consideration the best decision for this country.
Sir, explain to me how one weighs these, when you talk about blue capital and the blue economy, is there in there some acknowledgement, however, that what exists has to go through changes? Everything cannot remain pure or unspoilt. We have to make some compromises between conservation and development. You accept that?
Agreed.
Now, how does this square against the entire aspect of cruise ship tourism, which we know has known risks? And you said it. There's how many can we take? How do you come down on the issue of what is more important? Is it that people earn these minimum wage jobs, or these living, not even a living wage, I believe many people earn in cruise tourism? Because I believe it's a phantom. That's my personal belief based on informed analysis on the ground over the years. That's what I have seen at the FSTV in Belize. But how do you weigh those interests versus perhaps more lucrative employment in the tourism sector, in the overnight sector?
If you ask me, I will give you a personal opinion. Cruise ship tourism is something that comes by bulk and mass. That whenever they come, it oftentimes thwarts the information of how many tourists come into this country. I recall the last government, how they would big up and they would say so many tourists came in for the year and they exceeded 500,000 tourists. And oftentimes we're talking about how many tourists of that was in a cruise ship and how many of that were overnight tourists. So we have to work around that time. That I will tell you right now that if you ask me that we should invest further in overnight tourism, I'd be the first to tell you, let's go for that. And at some point in time, coming with cruise ship, there must be limitations. And even for Belize City, under the blue economy, under the Ministry of Tourism, we can harness together, work together. We're inherently intertwined. Both the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Blue Economy, we're linked. We're working together. Honorable Anthony Mala, we're working closely together. We can invest and turn what is the old capital into something that can be an overnight tourism instead of having the cruise ship. I'm not putting down tourism. Let the cruise ship tourism. Let me be clear on that. But there are limitations. I personally would be capping off on what is cruise ship tourism as opposed to bulk that is coming to the city. So let's look at overnight tourism. Let's look in the Department of Civil Aviation. There are so many private planes that want to come in this place here, but they're lasting as much as 2 hours and a half at the airport. And they want to come to San Pedro, but they're avoiding that long line. So we need to look at the broader schedule instead of just cruise ship tourism.
Right.
That is only one component, but we are limited to that. Oftentimes, you look at the figures, how much money does one cruise ship tourist spend here in the country? Very little. If they go to San Pedro, they don't spend anything. All they leave the trash, which is the plates, the cups, and they had lunch. And that is all we benefit from that in San Pedro.
Cruise tourists are cheap.
Exactly.
They don't spend.
So I'm saying that it's high time that we forget that or start to shift our focus into other components that is going to benefit us better than just cruise ship tourism. I believe that at this point in time that our energies need to be otherwise. Let's look at overnight tourism. Let's look at opening up at the borders. Let's look at making the European tourism that whenever they travel here to Central America, they're not only traveling only to Belize. Whenever you go to Europe, you're going to different European countries. You're not only going to Spain. If you're coming from Europe to Belize, you're not coming to Belize. You're going to Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico. So we need to cater to these people who are going to be spending 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights. So we need to make it easier for them at the border. We need to make it easier for them at the airport.
It has to be, however, you have this big vision, but it has to be in some measure frustrating to you that you are confined to only the blue economy when you have very clear ideas on tourism and your island is the tourist hub of Belize, and you have, and the blue economy immediately includes some of the Ministry of Environment. You have to feel to some point like you're straitjacketed.
Absolutely not.
No?
I do not feel frustrated
Why
at
they
all.
never give
I
tourism
tell you,
Andre?
No, because let me tell you something. I think the biggest winners out of all of this is Belize Rural South. San Pedro and Kikaka basically have gained too, because we are working together. Minister Mala and I are brothers. We work together. We understand clearly that the Ministry of Tourism and the Ministry of Blue Economy and Civil Aviation were inherently intertwined. He has visited us several times. We have been to Kikaka together. So I think at this point in time, in fact, I know that Belize Rural South, San Pedro and Kikaka are understanding that they have 2 ministers representing them. And the relations that we have, working relationship that we have, both of them on a friendly and intertwined, constantly engaging, or not only at the ministerial level, but at the CEO level and the department, we are working together. So therefore, it's a win-win, and it can be frustrating or straitjacketed. I think it's a big win, the way how are encompassing, the way how are meeting with the councils, the village council in San Pedro, in Kikaka and San Pedro. It's a win-win. So it can't be anything frustrating here, Julie. It's just a big win for Belize also.
All right. After the break, we'll take a quick commercial break, and after the break, we'll ask the minister about something special, which is called the Blue Bond, that harnesses a lot of the blue capital he spoke about. We'll also ask him about the controversial development at Cayo Rosario, which we have heard is coming back to life as a 6th sense. Let's hope it's not the 6th sense. So we'll have that with the minister after the break. Please stay tuned to UNCUT.
Benny's is kicking off Father's Day with popping deals for dad. In the month of June, we're offering 19 to 25% off selected items such as Milwaukee and Axie power tools, car care products, Karcher pressure washers, and much, much more. And that's not all. The race is on Saturday, June 19th. All roads leads to Benny's Cotton Tree Compound, mile 43 on the George Price Highway, where we will host the first ever Benny's 100. To enter the race, all you have to do is purchase your cart kit from Benny's for only $100. Assemble your cart, sign up, and get a chance to ride off with fabulous prizes. Check out our Facebook page for more details. Remember, it's popping deals for dad in June and Benny's 100 on June 19th, only at Benny's.
Benny's, Benny's, oh, Benny's.
Hello.
Ramona Linda Dialysis Clinic, downtown San Ignacio and 3 West Street, offers prestigious and high-quality services for private, local, and private international patients and the government of Belize-sponsored patients to continue normal and extended lives. Staff with on-site certified nephrologists, certified dialysis nurses, and registered nurses, and using new state-of-the-art equipment. Service-driven, Monday to Saturday, in spacious and comfortable environment at an affordable $200 per session. Government patients interested to acquire all 3 weekly sessions are offered their 3rd session at $150. Ramona Linda, recognized by Fresenius International, a world-recognized dialysis provider. Here is what one international patient commented. Nurses are friendly. I wouldn't go anywhere else when returning to Belize. Connected on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
Hello.
Run them jewels fast, run them jewels fast, run them slow mo. Hey.
Welcome back to UNCUT. We're joined again by Minister Andre Perez, Minister of the Blue Economy and Civil Aviation. To jump right into it, Minister, the blue economy is widely seen as somewhat off the grid when we talk about the productive sector. But I imagine the blue economy incorporates lobster and conch, and we know those marine exports are a big part of Belize's foreign exchange earnings. But you guys took a hit last year when the price for lobster crashed because there was so little demand from those high-priced restaurants in North America. Explain to me what happened with lobster and conch.
Well, Jules, I would beg to differ that it not really necessarily crashed. Of course, at the very beginning, the price of lobster and conch looked bleak. In fact, lobster. But all in all, if whenever we talk about these figures and we combine both of them, last year, 2020, in the pandemic, lobster and conch constituted as much as $34 million contributed to the economy. Out of that $34 million, $9 million was out of lobster, and $25 million out of conch. In the first 2 weeks of when the lobster season was open in June 15 last year, the first 2 weeks, it generated as much as $3 billion pumped into the economy when it was all dead, when tourism, the bottom of the tourism had fallen. So we are saying that these figures cannot be ignored. It forms part of the blue economy. It forms part of what can be done better. How can we improve? How can we make it value added that we have done? If we are talking about just conch and lobster to the tune of $34 million, there must be something that we can do better under the blue economy. We're talking about value added products that we can do. So we need to work, and that is what the blue economy is working about, seeking that kind of studies, consulting, to improve and make more money out of these products. Value added is important, and that is part of the blue economy.
But how can you make more money? I mean, we know that lobster tails are the premium, one of the Belize's premium exports that fetches a global price.
We are currently working right now with a company who is interested in exporting whole lobsters, live lobsters.
Whole live lobsters.
Yes, that is also added value. That is something that has more value to that.
But are you doing this while keeping an eye on the fishery stocks?
Of course.
Because you know that exploitation...
No.
Because the volume these people want to export is often more than we may have in the sea ready for export.
Well, under the blue economy, and I think that is one thing that we need to often ignore. We often ignore what really is the fisheries department. Under the fisheries department, if you look at the history, at the regional level, we are part of what you call the OSPESCA. We are part of the regional body of Central America in terms of what we form part of the regional body of fishing. We stand out as a clear model of how we manage our fish stock in this country. We stand out as a beacon of light that we have everything organized. So in the control of producing conch and lobster, it has always been maintained at a very sustainable way. Every year we have controls. Last year we extended the lobster season for another 2 weeks. And this year we're opening the season by another 2 weeks later. It's because we have controls, we have studies of what is our stock. It is sustainable. For the next 10, 15 years, we know what we have. Our limitations, we know what our limitations are, what we can produce. And that is what is making us successful.
Once we start including external actors and people outside of our fishing industry, obviously they will want to exploit it.
Well, let me tell you something. We have always been under fire by foreign investors who want to come here. You always get phone calls and say, hey, we want to minister, or we want to get so much lobster, we want to buy as much as possible. It doesn't really matter. See, let me be clear with you. The blue economy is a ministry that must build its name. It must build the value. We must give value of what the reef is. We are the largest reef in the Western Hemisphere. It is high time we create a seal of the blue economy. So at some point in time, we need to start to market that every time you buy a lobster extracted from a reef, the largest reef in the Western Hemisphere, that has value. If you get a pound of conchs outside that comes from the largest reef in the Western Hemisphere, that has value. If you get crab claws extracted from the largest reef in the Western Hemisphere, that has value. So we must add value by putting the seal of the economy. The Australian Barrier Reef generated over $7 billion to the economy of Australia. Right here, we're just under $1 billion. So we can increase that so that we give you value. Whatever you buy a lobster from the Bahamas, that's just lobsters from the Bahamas. But if you buy lobster from Belize, it is worth more because where it came from, it has value. So it is a seal of the blue economy. It is marketing. That is the blue economy that we want to aim for.
Interesting. Now let's talk about something else under your ministry, which is the civil aviation. And we know that there has been a problem at the airport for many years that we are bringing in so much airlift, so many new passengers, but we cannot process them through the airport. It's too small. We don't have enough personnel working simultaneously. Oftentimes, immigration personnel aren't prepared to work overtime, so planes can't land after 5. It becomes too costly for them. How are you addressing all these issues?
Absolutely. Very good question there, Jules. The most important thing is that what we inherited, or what I inherited as the Minister of the Civil Aviation, we understood that the Civil Aviation Department was, I don't want to say shambles, but it needed work to be done. So what we have done is an ambitious plan to launch in what is called a national plan, a framework, a strategic plan of the next 5 years. We need to modernize. We need to keep up with the region. We have to really keep up with what is going on around in terms of our airspace, the management of the airspace. We are working on that. In terms of the PGIA, we got to make it better. Not only for the carriers that are coming in, but we have to look at another niche market that is occurring here. Private aircrafts are beginning to come more often. We're not talking about illegal flights, please don't get me wrong. We're not talking about that.
A lot of private aircraft pass through our
legal
airspace.
aircrafts, just to make it clear, abundantly clear, that the private aircrafts that are coming in right now, there's a market. There's a market for that lucrative market of people who want to come. I was just told the other day that there is a group or a team in Florida that is about 30 or so whenever they come here. They're traveling, doctors, lawyers, they have their pet projects, they have their planes that they
But how
come
do
in.
you clear them through the airport?
Well, that's the thing. Now, the information that we have is that coming to Belize to stay at the PGIA to process their papers, they're taking in excess of 2 hours and 20 minutes. Compared to the regional level of the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, they're clocking 20 minutes. So we are saying we have got to do better. So how do we do this better? Is to work along with the different departments. It is not only the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Obviously, it must involve the Ministry of Tourism. We have to have the Department of Immigration.
But we all know this,
Yeah,
Minister. So
but
I'm
no-
saying, how are you going to do it?
It's already working.
How?
Right now, at this point in time, let's look at what is coming in with our traffic. If you look right now, if I invite you to take you and I, we should go to the airport on a busy Saturday, and I can walk you through this airport, and I can assure you that the traveler who comes in here comes in no less than 1 hour and a half, they're out of there. In terms of walking through health, immigration, less than that. They're out of there with their luggage in their hands.
So what's
Now-
the difference?
Well, the difference, remember right now with the pandemic, you will have slowed down in
Of
any
course.
international airport. But what we are saying is that at this point in time, we need to make our travelers feel safe and efficient. Because the first impression a traveler gets, if they get stuck at the airport, they're going to have a bad taste of our country. So we understand the blue economy, civil aviation, tourism. We understand that it is important that at the PGIA, we must be efficient, fast and efficient. And that is what we are doing. Why do you not hear right now, at this point in time, you're not hearing any kind of passengers complaining about the airport?
Because you have
it's
so few
efficient.
passengers, sir.
No. The increase right now, if you go, I invite you to go on a Saturday, you will be surprised how many flights are coming at this point.
There
in
is
time.
no way that you have the number of passengers in 2021.
We are nowhere close.
2021 June that we had in 2019 June.
No, we are not nowhere close to what is 2019.
So I'm saying that you're running like a simulation.
No. I beg to differ. At this point in time, Jules, our projections are showing that we are farther what we were expecting to be for the month of June. And for the month of July and August, it's looking even better for
You're
us.
saying you
nowhere
reinvented the
close to-
wheel, but really
No,
all
no.
you did was put on a smaller wheel.
No. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're saying now that we have more kickbacks here because of the pandemic that we did not have in 2019. So it is unfair to compare. But what we're saying is that what we have right now, we are more than prepared whenever we get to 2019 and beyond that we are prepared to be efficient at that PGA. And that is the goal of the Civil Aviation Department.
Switching back to San Pedro, Minister, are you able to talk about a big development that was a huge controversy for the over-the-water structures back in, I guess it was 2018, 2017, which was the Cayo Rosario project? I've heard the Prime Minister mention now that this project has been reanimated, that it's sixth sense. What is happening with it, and does it have your support?
When you talk about a sixth sense, we're talking about some type of resort that is renowned around the world for their environmental clearance. That is, for the people out there who are listening, that Sixth Sense is a resort that is known to be environmentally compliant. And indeed, this island of Cayo Rosario is very controversial in my hometown, San Pedro,
Right.
because it has many implications. It sits in the middle of what you call a reserve. In tourism, there is something called fly fishing. It fetches thousands of dollars. It is the biggest industry in terms of fishing. You can do reef fishing, you can do deep sea fishing, you can do reef fishing, but when it comes to the flats, you're fishing bonefish, tarpon, permit.
Right.
That is a sport for rich people. And when these people come fishing, they don't come for overnight, they come for a week or two. They come with their families. So there's money involved in there, big money involved. So whenever you're talking about Cayo Rosario, it sits in the middle of this very much precarious situation.
Right.
But sadly, our government, myself, inherited this predicament, and it has been lingering for many, many years. So that the previous government has been kicking this can along the road, proverbially. So I'm faced with it, dealing with it. And they have all the clearances, and I'm in the middle to make a decision. And the decision is that we must make informed decisions.
So there will be a development on Cayo Rosario.
Let me be clear on this.
Will it have over-the-water structures?
They have gotten approvals to build a limited amount because they wanted to build
Of
around.
over-the-water structures.
Yes.
You
But-
opposed that back in 2018, Minister?
Yes. Let me get back to that. I did oppose that. I'm on the record for that. But when we get across and see what is the development there, we apply what is the blue economy. We have to find a balance. Perhaps we can take Cayo Rosario as a clear model of what is the blue economy, where the investor can benefit, but the fisher folks will not lose their waters. And then the environment is preserved. So that is the conundrum. We need to find that balance right there. But in the end, at this point in time, the investors are pushing us to the point whereby they're asking for a little bit more than way too much. That is no longer feasible. At this point in time, we have spoken. It has reached all the way, as you mentioned, with the Prime Minister. He has spoken about it. We have spoken. At this point in time, nothing has been sealed. We have laid out our terms, and at this point in time, nothing has been. We have laid out our terms. You can build over the water, but you cannot dredge. Because
No.
that area cannot be dredged. That's the point.
So-
you will not dredge, and it cannot happen. The dredging cannot occur. They need to bring any kind of filling for that island, has to be from somewhere else. But that area is such a pristine area that we have to be careful.
How are you allowing this to happen in your backyard,
No,
in,
it's not
in
about-
your political backyard?
No, it's not
You'll
about-
get major blowback from this, Minister.
No. It's not about allowing. Let me tell you something. This is something that we have been in close consultation with our stakeholders. They are absolutely much informed. We have been speaking with them. And I've been speaking with investors as well. So it's not something about running away or hiding about it. We are talking to every single stakeholder in that issue of the Cayo Rosario. But I tell you what, whatever decision is going to be a safe one. And better than before, for so many years that has been dragged on and on. We have, see Jules,
Environmentally and politically
yes,
safe.
Jules. I
You
think
know,
at this
some
point,
politically
no,
safe.
at this point in time, I believe that no longer there's a politician or a representative who have been saying to the investor, "Don't worry, you will do your work, you will proceed," and then they turn around to their voters and say, "No worry, no matter what, that investor is not going to proceed." That is two-faced, man. We can't do that. So we have to be real. We have to tell our investors, yes, you're on the horse already, but we have to tell our constituency, they are on the horse. We must work together. And that is what I bring in the balance.
Sir, speak to us about the little-known Blue Bond. It's not a margarine. This is Blue Bond is a project being floated with the Nature Conservancy. and it invokes a lot of the blue
Absolutely.
capital that you've been talking about. What can you say about it?
Okay. I do not know if people know what really is blue bonds. We need to be clear on what people understand what is blue bond. Like Koya says, it's not a margarine like Koya said. But the blue bonds is something that we must give value for conservation. And we must understand that certain parts of our water, certain parts of our coast, we must give value that we must take care of. And the blue bonds come into place that there are many people who want to invest if we protect our environment. That is really the blue bonds. And that falls under what is the blue economy. There are many people who would like to invest. There are many investors, philanthropists who believe in these things, who have excess cash, who believe that how they want to save the world. And they will look at different places such as our reef and to say we must save this country, we must save this reef. That is really the blue bonds. And certainly that is something that we do not leave out, like blue bonds and blue carbons. It is something.
So where are the
that is-
negotiations, though? Because you're talking about it conceptually.
Yes.
Are there
Conceptually.
negotiations with the Nature
Yes,
Conservancy on
yes,
the way?
there are.
What stage are they? And
No,
when
I-
will we see a dividend
Okay,
from this blue
I
bond?
tell you what, there is a dealings with the Nature Conservancy, but that is not something, because of investments and trading and everything, we have to be very careful. We cannot be discussing and disclosing that.
Are you involved in it, though? Because I know it's something that the
Absolutely.
Ministry
That
of
is
Finance is
absolutely.
dealing with.
This is the Ministry of Blue Economy. Anything that happens with the blue bonds must happen under the auspices of the blue economy. That is what the blue economy is about. We are talking about blue capital. We're talking about blue investments. That is the blue bonds.
But are you sure they're involving you?
I am
Minister?
involved.
Because you may know the Ministry of Finance, once you start talk bonds, they have
Jules,
they
I'm
have
telling you.
James Bond, Powder Bond, all of them.
Jules, I am personally involved. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm sitting at the table, right in front of, at the table, I'm sitting there dealing with the blue bonds.
Now, if we could speak about other issues on San Pedro, Jasmine Hartin, sir, you cut a ribbon with her not more than a month ago. What, and you obviously were well known to Mr. Jamot, you knew him well. What do you have to say about what has happened and your experience with these two individuals?
No, in terms of the late Mr. Jamot, he was a friend of mine. We worked together for a couple of years. I was based in San Pedro as the officer in charge. I have fond memories of him, especially around the election time when it was getting a bit heated. I recall a moment when you're in the areas that you're not supposed to be, and you would call me out and say, Andre, you can't be here, you know, and I would be in an argument. You're being too rough on me, man. I'm just trying that. And sir, you're campaigning on the line. Those are the fun memories I would have with him as a friend, you know. That's how I want to remember him. In times of, we were in heated discussions, but we had respect for one
But
another.
certainly when you heard about this,
Yeah.
this shooting death,
Yeah.
what crossed your mind?
I got
You
the
know
message
both
at
individuals.
I got the message at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, I was
What
informed.
did you think?
I still with disbelief. What happened? I was still in disbelief and everything. But I think, Jules, I want to talk about the bigger picture of San Pedro. We're in the news for not good reasons. We would have wanted to be in news for better, in international news for better things of what San Pedro is all about. And we still are a good island. We have good people. We have plenty of good resources. And that's how I see it. And my heart goes out for the family. And of course, for the family that is involved, the accident that occurred or may have occurred. And I leave it at that.
Do you think Jasmine Hartin will be safe if she goes back to live on San Pedro?
I cannot comment on that at this point in time. You know, we heard the news today, so it's just something very difficult because I know her as well. I know Andrew. I know the whole family. Everything. It's difficult. It's very difficult.
Do you think it will affect the investment climate on your island or even the investment in Alaya?
I don't think so. It is an unfortunate incident, but we look at the bigger picture. You know, this island, San Pedro, is a good island. We have tremendous potential, and so is the investment. It's too much. It's too big. You know, it's an incident that occurred, but San Pedro has so many good things occurring that it'll come to pass.
We know that Tongues people, I get the vibe, Tongues people are after you because they say that you haven't invested in infrastructure on the island as you said you would. You know, people, the revolution of rising expectations never ends. But my question is, indeed you are under pressure to deliver.
Of course.
Is San Pedro treated unfairly considering how much of the national sales tax, business tax, and hotel tax it generates? Do you all get adequate return on that in infrastructure and other resource deployments?
For the past 12 years, we never got that fair treatment. And I tell you this way.
Sounds like you still aren't getting
No.
people
Hang on. We
Hang
just
on.
been here. We just been there for the past 8 months. But I tell you what, for the past 12 years, in 2019, 38% of GDP came from tourism. Out of that 38%, 25% came from Kikakar and San Pedro. So for the past 12 years, we're talking about $550 million in Petrocarib. Where is our hospital? Where were our schools? We are saying that we never got our fair treatment. And to tell me that in the next 8 months we have not delivered, I have a tremendous responsibility. And build a hospital, we will build a hospital.
You will build it.
We
Time
will.
frame.
That's it. In the less than 5 years. Mark my
Less
words
than
right
5
here.
years.
Less than 5 years, the next elections, there is going to be a hospital in San
A
Pedro.
real hospital,
Real
not a
hospital.
polyclinic.
Not a polyclinic, a real community hospital. It is going to be built. And it is going to build with a government that does not have access to $500 million of Petrocarib. We'll do it by the sweat of our eyebrows. We'll go out there and make the loans, use the resources of Ambergiski to build the hospital. And it takes good leadership.
Have you told Chris
and
Coy you're going to make loans, sir?
Absolutely, we have
He wouldn't
discussed that.
even take a loan right now from a
I'm telling you,
corner store.
let me tell you, Ambergiski and Kikakar is the best bet you want to do right now. And the health center in Kikakar, we will build a health center this year. We're going to do it. It takes leadership. It takes vision. It takes a business sense to take that, Jules. And you can take that to the bank, and believe you me, we're going to build a hospital, and we're going to build a health center for Kikakar.
Excellent. You heard it first from the Minister of the Blue Economy and Civil Aviation, Andre Perez. We want to thank him for being
Abner.
our guest. Sorry, Abner Perez. I'm mixing up the two names I know him as, and we didn't even get to talk about. Abner, say what you wish about that he represents one of the most capitalistic constituencies. Abner is the son of Domingo Reyes. What side Musa
Perez.
would call Domingo Perez? What side Musa would call an old communist? Indeed, and so Andre has very deep roots as it relates to trade unionism and also to communism. He grew up hearing all talks of leftism in his home, and
We're
that's real.
comrades. We're comrades.
Indeed. We are in that regard. We are against the neoliberals, but while in the win right now. So thanks so much to
Thank you for having
Andre
me here, Jules. Thank
for
you.
coming in. And we'll make that visit to the airport and
sure.
see how it goes.
For sure.
Stay tuned to Uncut. After the break, we'll have the chairman of the UDP, Mike
Run them
Perfit,
too fast.
talking
Run
about the
them
wreck
too
of the
fast.
red that is washing up on our shores right now. Stay tuned.
Hey. Venice is kicking off Father's Day with popping deals for dad. In the month of June, we're offering 19 to 25. Hey. 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 All you have to do is purchase your cart kit from Benny's for only $100. Assemble your cart, sign up, and get a chance to ride off with fabulous prizes. Check out our Facebook page for more details. Remember, it's Popping Deals for Dad in June, and Benny's 100 on June 19th, only at Benny's.
Hey Belize, what's up? This is the boy DJ Dollar, and I'm here to tell you for this Father's Day, save you bottom dollar, and the People's Store is giving 9 lucky fathers a chance to win a whole lot of grocery items in our blindfold grocery challenge. So This is simple. Let me tell you how this works, right? Miss Aisha and myself will give the dads items blindfolded and they will have to guess. They can guess as many items within 5 minutes. Macaroni and cheese, Hershey syrup, toilet paper, detergent. All you gotta do is send in your father's name and number, or fathers, you can send in your name and number to 634-4815 to participate at Save You Store. 624-4173 to participate at Bottom Dollar Store. And 604-0785 to participate at the People's Store. By Saturday, June 12th, 3 dads per store. Friday, June 18th at 10 a.m. inside Bottom Dollar. Friday, June 18th at 3 p.m. inside Save You Supermarket. And Saturday, June 19th at 3 p.m. at the People's Store. Hosted by myself and Miss Aisha. That's how it will work. So start sending those names and numbers and you can be one of the lucky dads to win a whole lot of items right here, all courtesy Save You, Bottom Dollar, and the People's Store.
May they look out for your deal power laptop? No worry. As usual, Myers get exactly what you need at the price where you may look for. Right now, Myers get a limited stock of 14-inch certified pre-owned and upgraded laptops loaded with Intel Core 2 Duo processor, 4GB of RAM, and a nicely 120GB SSD hard drive that come preloaded with Windows 7 and Office. Each one of their laptop that Myers come with their charger and a free carrying case. They are certified, pre-owned, and upgraded laptop were available at Myers that all you need to get that schoolwork done with no excuse at the incredibly low price of $495. Yes, you hear correct. $495 for a laptop at Myers. Listen to me, if you don't believe me, go check their laptop at Myers to their part 36 Queen Street in Belize City or contact Myers through WhatsApp, Facebook, or Instagram. Good laptop. With this price, hard to find, so you need to hurry.
Hello.
Benny's is kicking off Father's Day with popping deals for dad. In the month of June, we're offering 19 to 25% off selected items such as Milwaukee and Axie power tools, car care products, Karcher pressure washers, and much, much more. And that's not all. The race is on Saturday, June 19th. All roads leads to Benny's Cotton Tree Compound, mile 43 on the George Price Highway, where we will host the first ever Benny's 100. To enter the race, all you have to do is purchase your cart kit from Benny's for only $100. Assemble your cart, sign up, and get a chance to ride off with fabulous prizes. Check out our Facebook page for more details. Remember, it's popping deals for dad in June and Benny's 100 on June 19th, only at Benny's.
Benny's, Benny's, oh, Benny's. Run them jewels fast, run them jewels fast, run them slow mo. Hey.
Welcome back to Uncut. I'm joined by the chairman of the UDP, or what used to be known as the UDP. Now it's just called a laughing stock. Sorry, that's a bad joke. I apologize. I'm joined by the chairman, Mike Perfeet. It proves once and for all, folks, we are not the same person.
Well, yes. That's why I came on the show, you know, Jules.
Exactly.
I want to tell everybody, when they see me in the street, stop, they say, well, yeah, Jules. I am not Jules. He is far uglier than I am, and plus I just learned tonight he's a communist. So we're different people.
Very different, sir, very different. Mr. Chairman of the UDP, you agreed to join us at the hardest time for your party.
No.
You don't feel that it's a hard time. So your leader is on a sustained attack.
Listen to me.
They're trying to recall him.
First of all, nobody is trying to recall him as far as I know. Secondly, nobody has been on the more sustained attacks than the current Prime Minister, John Briceño. Okay?
He's just a
and yet he
subject of
survived.
memes.
He survived. He's
somewhat. Doing well.
He didn't do too badly. He became Prime Minister. So come on, man. It's only natural when you have a sweep like this. I mean, the POP, for example, just to give one side example, they changed leaders 4 times in 12 years. I mean, if whatever turmoil there may be in the UDP, it's a part of the transition process. You lose 2 elections back to back. It's a part of the rebuilding process. There will be murmurings. There will be disagreements. They're like family. We're a family, and in families you have quarrels. You have one two hand throw and one two thing, but we're still family. So I don't think that we're in that spot that you want us to be. I think it's a part of the process.
Sir.
And sometimes it's good to get these things out, you know, get out the frustration. I mean, want to cost you a long time, just cost you no one done, man. You know, just get it out of your system, and so we can get back as a family and rebuild. That's the stage we're in right now.
But sir, indeed you are saying that it's feuding, but this, sir, is a blood feud.
How?
Sir, insofar as Shine has made a call for a parliamentary coup. Last done in UDP in 1983 against Theodore Aranda, to make that 3 of the members would go to the Governor General saying, Patrick Faber no longer enjoys our support. Second, while Tracy Panton has denied any involvement in this, we have seen a back channel communication from Tracy Panton saying, I there with it. Last week, things changed, but saying, I there with it, make we meet, when we deal with this man, when we go into parliament. Sir, Patrick Faber is under threat as parliamentary leader of the opposition.
You want me to respond to that?
Please,
Was that a
sir.
question or just your own soliloquy as you went into?
No, sir. What I'm saying is that you're misrepresenting the facts.
I'm not.
What you're misrepresenting as a feud is a bloodbath.
No, not at all. Okay. First of all, nothing has been sent to the Governor General to indicate that.
But there are talks about it, sir.
But there are always talks, Jules.
There never talks about that. There was never talks about that against Dean Barrow.
There are always talks. There are always talks about leadership, and you don't like that one. You have to recall, we just went through a very intense, two of them actually, convention between two leading figures of the party, and Patrick emerged victorious at the second one. So there is some tension, there is some disagreement with his leadership style, whatever it is. In terms of what Shine has said, I mean, clearly, I would have preferred for Shine not to say it publicly like that, but Shine has a right to say who he wants to be leader and not want to be leader. We're a democratic party. If there are murmurings and people are saying, look, we need to consider whether or not Honorable Faber should be a leader, that's a daily process you go through for every person who has a position in the party. It is healthy for people every day to talk about whether or not I still should be chairman, or Hugo should still be first deputy, or Bev second deputy, or Alberto Agas vice chairman. It's normal.
That's insidious. That's not healthy, sir.
No, that is very healthy. We are united, but we are a democratic party, and people are allowed.
It's healthy in a
express.
Dysfunctional party,
No,
sir.
it's not. It's
the
not.
UDP right now is at the apex of dysfunctionality.
Well, that's kind of like contradictory. Apex and dysfunctional. Anyway, but what I see it differently. Jules. I see it as we're at a stage where we're rebuilding. And when you are rebuilding, emotions get high, tensions get high, but we are still UDP, we are still a United Democratic Party, we're still a mass party, and we're moving forward with a rebuilding effort to ensure that we can put up what the UDP is known to put up in the next elections whenever they are called.
But this, Mr. Chairman, is not happening in a vacuum. The backdrop to all this is that your leader was caught in a very embarrassing situation, and then you made it worse by victim blaming and said women shouldn't be shy. They're not shy, sir. They're afraid. The system has systematically marginalized and persecuted women for speaking out against men, and men have also victimized and brutalized women for speaking out. So I'm saying that you went on this, in trying to defend him, you took it up another level and started to blame the victims for not following through with the police when the system is run by men to further marginalize them.
I disagree that I defended him the way you say I defended him.
You blame the victims, sir.
I disagree that I tried to victim shame, as you said. I don't believe I did that at all. If you were to honestly look at my comments that I made Friday, you would see that that is not the case. And go look at it and
pulling them up
and read them and
the
see
thing is, there's so many entries with your name.
Well, that's your fault. You overcover me.
Indeed, there's a lot to cover.
No, right.
But my question is, the background to all this excitement is that your leader has been caught in what John Saldivar says is one too many, an offense in a domestic situation. Is this factual that Patrick Faber has now become a political liability because of these repeated domestic situations?
Well, that is left to the party, and the party can decide that. We have conventions every 2 years, and Honorable Faber, I'm sure, when the convention is called by the National Convention, he may put his name up if he so chooses to continue to be the leader of the party. And at that point, then the people in the UDP would decide whether or not they want him to be their leader. We have a process by which we choose our leaders. And so the people in the party will determine whether or not they want him to continue to be their leader at the next convention.
But, sir, looking at it, I'm asking for your opinion.
Yes.
At what point does someone become politically not viable because they have one too many domestic kerfuffles, let us euphemize it, against them? The man vehicle set on fire, the man carrying up the sea, the man has had a report made which never went out, etc., etc. I am saying that at what point is it too much?
But that is up to the people in the party. And there are two mechanisms, as I'm sure you know about, and I'm sure you're going to remind the audience. There are two mechanisms by which...
recall of the party leader.
Well, the recall of it's in the UDP constitution, and the party leader knows that. We have our delegates and our constituency organizations and our committees. If they believe that that is too much for them, then they can start that process. But we cannot say for them what they should or should not.
But
It's up to the members. It is up to members of the party to determine whether or not they want him to remain the leader. And so far, we have gotten no indication that they don't.
I know factually, because I know people who have signed a recall being taken around. Today, John Saldiva was in the south of Belize. Yesterday, he was in the north. He is going around speaking to a number of the delegates. I'm told in constituencies, 16 of the delegates have signed on to say that they want to recall. And let's read it. The party leader may at any time be removed from the office of party leader following a petition calling for his or her removal signed by at least 1/3 of the delegates to a national convention. I am saying right now there is a campaign, and you know it, Chairman, spearheaded by John Saldiva.
Well, first
is this
of all,
a real risk to the leadership of Patrick Faber?
Well, time will tell. First of all, if the delegates want to sign on to a petition like that, that's their right. If any member of the UDP wants to start something like that, that's their right. I don't think that that's in the best interest of the party, but that's their right. And so if they present to me as chairman signatures of delegates who represent 1/3 of the delegates and the people who can vote at a national convention, that would trigger the possibility of a recall, and then we go to an election, and then it says right there, 2/3 of those present say that the Honorable Faber should be removed, then he's removed. That's the process. If they say he remains, then he remains. That's the process. I don't know what all the excitement is about, actually.
Sir, but a political party must be a model of at least outward stability. Internally, all kind of things are happening. It's people we're dealing with. But outwardly, you have, the last election said 38,000 people who voted, 38,000 registered voters who voted for the UDP at almost their lowest point.
Yes.
You are answerable to those people, and right now those people are saying, ship be sinking. Because outwardly, the UDP is not, it's exploding, not imploding internally. I am saying that the party is failing to live up to the minimum standards that it must maintain as a viable mass party.
Well, we have 31 constituencies, and those 31 constituencies have each 15 to 16 committee members. You multiply that. Those are the people who represent the leadership within the different constituencies in the country. They are voted in by the constituency organizations, who are the people who are UDP represented in each constituency. So therefore, wait, man.
I think they should be
right,
voted
the
in.
UDP.
I think they're placed there by the standard bearer or the political officer.
Well, nobody has ever objected to the process yet. So it has gone according to plan. So then, those people, those 38,000 people that you mentioned, they will have their voice through the constituency organization and the committees. So then, their committee's vote will be determined by what their view is if it gets to that point. So let's wait and see. You talk about this noise and all this noise. It may be no noise at all when you come down to it. It's like that's why you have to have an election. That's why you have to have a process. The UDP constitution provides for a process. So if that process is triggered, we go through the process.
But sir, you're looking at it clinically, and I understand that.
I'm a clinical fellow.
But externally, there is some, when people look at the UDP, honestly, without being hyperbolic, it seems like a sad psychiatric circus, sir.
But that's your opinion. That's your opinion.
That's my analysis.
Yeah, that's your opinion. If you were to tell me 2 years ago that John Briceño would be the Prime Minister of Belize, I would say you're crazy too. But it happens. It just so that was my opinion and I was wrong. That is just your opinion. I beg to differ.
Okay, now, but let's look at it just from how it's playing out. Is there any way that we know Mr. Faber has to, at this point, he continues to lead? Is there any way that the UDP can move forward in unison, being that now Shine has staked out completely on his own, Shine Barrow? That's one of 5 representatives. How can the UDP present a united front? If I think Shine is probably the best speaker that the UDP has, there are only 5, but he's probably one of the strongest parliamentarians that the UDP has in the House. How can the UDP present a unified front in the National Assembly when there is this deep, substantial division?
The United Democratic Party has 5 children in the House of Representatives, and nobody has left. Nobody has gone on his or her own. The Honorable Shine Barrow is a member of the UDP. The Honorable Shine Barrow is a UDP representative in the House for Mesopotamia. What you do is you sit down and you have discussions. The party certainly plans to have a central executive meeting coming up, a national party council meeting coming up, and several other meetings so that we can sit down and work out our differences. There is no one of us have left the party, and nobody has asked anyone to leave the party. We are all members of the UDP. With the quarrel, yes. So with the quarrel, so what? Like I said before, families quarrel. What do? You get together, you sit down, you remember that you're a family, you remember that we are not the enemy, that the real enemy is the PUP. And so when you do that, then that's how you heal. That's how you heal. That's how you bring everybody under the tent, and that's how you move forward. Is this a hiccup? Absolutely. Is it something that we would want so you can focus on us and not the terrible job that the PUP is doing? Of course we would not want this, but this happens. In families, this happens. And this is nothing more than an internal skirmish in a family which I am confident will be resolved in the not too distant future.
When it is resolved, will Patrick Faber still be the leader of the UDP?
Well, that is up to the people of the UDP. If the people in the UDP want him to be their leader, he will be their leader. You keep talking about some movement with the delegates and people signing. I don't know. I haven't seen anything. Nothing has come to me to indicate that that's what they want. So I have no time to listen to things like that. I only do what officially is given to me. And all I can tell you is, as we sit here, nothing has been given to me to say that they want to question the Honorable Faber's leadership.
If and when it arrives on your desk, will you deal with it with equanimity, or will you deal with it without saying, boy, I have to support the leader? Because that's how politics works.
No, we're all subject to the UDP constitution.
Sir, we know that party constitutions are observed more in the breach.
Under this chairman, we will go according to the constitution. If 1/3 of the delegates, the constituency committee, say that they want to go to a vote to determine whether or not the Honorable Patrick Faber continues to be the leader of the party, their wishes have to be respected. I won't like it because, like I said, I don't think it's in the best interest of the party at this time. But if it comes to my desk, I have to accept it because we have a provision for it in the Constitution, and we have to follow what the Constitution says.
All of this happening, does it, in your mind, meet the threshold of being a legitimate leadership crisis in the UDP?
No, I don't think so. And I think that if there is a petition that comes, then that will be determined by the vote of the people from the constituency committees. They will determine whether or not there was a crisis and they need a change. They may determine that, no, we wanted a vote and we want to keep the Honorable Faber. They may determine that they don't want to continue with the petition. I cannot suppose what they will do and won't do. It's up to them. And these are the same people, who put the Honorable Patrick Faber there in his leadership position. These are the same people. It is, since they were the ones who put him there, they are the only ones who can say if he will stay there. But they have not indicated to me as yet officially or unofficially that they want that change. So I have to assume that they don't want that change.
Since you are have such fidelity to the UDP constitution, why hasn't an NPC been held since November? We know that it should be held every 6 months.
Right, it should be held
you all are in breach.
Right. No, what we were focusing on right after the November elections, we were heavily focused on making sure that we will be ready for Christmas time for our people, that we will be ready for budget debates, that we will be ready for our municipal
have to be
elections.
ready for Christmas.
No.
Unless it was to be screwed.
No, well, it's not just about giving people things, it's to give people hope, something that the PUP is not giving them. And remember, we all get, in the house, we get community funds, so we have to help people as best as we can with the resources that we've been given. And the PUP wasn't giving any. And the UDP was not going to sit there and let our people starve. We have to find a way to help them. So
because the UDP had to have a big sale, you couldn't have an NPC?
We were busy doing that, and we believe that given what was before us, that the NPC meeting could wait.
Isn't it that you all didn't have an NPC because your leader, Mr. Faber, does not want to face the 31 or the 30 corpses who ran in the last, that's a gratuitous term. Please allow me to recant it.
Wow.
But isn't it that the UDP has a problem with the persons who contested the last election, 25 of whom lost?
No, we don't have a problem with them.
But I'm saying that
Those
isn't
people,
this why you all haven't had an NPC?
Absolutely
because
not
Mr. Faber doesn't want to face those people to tell them, oh no, go.
No.
Because that's what he wants them to do.
No, that
but they
is not
won't
true.
go.
That is not true. The party leader has never said he wanted these people to go. The party leader has always maintained that those people who lost their seats would have to demonstrate to the party in the usual process that the party still wants them to run again. So, for example, you pick somebody who lost their seat. All the position of the party is this. Look, there's a process we have to follow. You're not automatically the candidate for the next election. You have to run to see whether or not the people will choose you as their caretaker, and then you go on to being a standard bearer. That's all we have said. All we have said is that nobody who has lost will automatically be the new candidate. You have to demonstrate that you will earn that right to be the new candidate. And so if the people in those constituencies, if all of them who ran for the UDP in the last election were to be chosen again by the constituency organizations and committees within those divisions, we have to do what the people want. So if, for example, pick an example then, you pick a one example. Rene Montero. If Rene Montero decides that he wants to run again, and there's a caretaker convention, and he runs for that convention for caretaker, and the UDP people in that division pick him, we have to respect that. How can you not respect that? If they want him to be the standard bearer again and that's their choice, we cannot disrespect the choice.
Same for John Saldivar.
Same for John Saldivar.
But it defies all political logic to do that. A mass party must be popular. Those aren't popular decisions.
Yeah, but that's disrespectful to the people of Belmopan, for example. So what are we...
The people of Belmopan spoke on November 11th.
But listen to me, but people have lost elections and run again. George Price may lose still and run again. You have people like this. Take, for example, John Saldivar, who's your favorite example. John decides he wants to run in Belmopan again. There's a caretaker convention he has to contest. If the people who are UDP in that division decide that they want back John, who are we to say that they can't have back John? That's their choice. Whether or not he runs again in Belmopan is up to the people of Belmopan.
We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will ask the chairman of the UDP to put on his other hat as a former prosecutor. We want to ask him what he thinks of the Jasmine Harton case. We'll take a quick break.
month of June, we're offering 19 to 25% off selected items such as Milwaukee and Axit power tools, car care products, Karcher pressure washers, and much, much more. And that's not all. The race is on Saturday, June 19th. All roads leads to Benny's Cotton Tree Compound, mile 43 on the George Price Highway, where we will host the first ever Benny's 100. To enter the race, all you have to do is purchase your cart kit from Benny's for only $100. Assemble your cart, sign up, and get a chance to ride off fabulous prizes. Check out our Facebook page for more details. Remember, it's popping deals for Dad in June and Benny's 100 on June 19th, only at Benny's.
Benny's, Benny's, oh, Benny's.
Hello.
Ramona Linda Dialysis Clinic, downtown San Ignacio and 3 West Street, offers prestigious and high-quality services for private, local, and private international patients and the government of Belize-sponsored patients to continue normal and extended lives. Staff with on-site certified nephrologists, certified dialysis nurses, and registered nurses, and using new state-of-the-art equipment. Service-driven, Monday to Saturday, in spacious and comfortable environment at an affordable $200 per session. Government patients interested to acquire all 3 weekly sessions are offered their 3rd session at $150. Ramona Linda, recognized by Fresenius International, a world-recognized dialysis provider. Here is what one international patient commented. Nurses are friendly. I wouldn't go anywhere else when returning to Belize. Connected on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
Venice is kicking off. Hey. Hey.
Welcome back to Uncut. We're here with the chairman of the UDP, but before he was chairman of the UDP or even a politician, Mike Perfit used to be a prosecutor. I apologize for not having the archival footage. Usually we try to...
No, I am grateful.
You're
sir.
grateful.
I am
Exactly.
grateful.
I did it as a favor.
I had one chin. My shirt used to actually fit me. I could tuck in my pants. So please, I am so grateful you could not find that footage.
In time, Mike.
I got to stand at one picture today. I will not share it.
Please don't, sir. We'll all be traumatized. The kids won't want to get old. But we want to ask him, Mike, you were a prosecutor on one of the most sensational cases, as I recall, the Pipersburg quadruple murder. I'm not sure if you were a prosecutor.
No, the defense attorney.
A defense attorney. There
defense
you go.
attorney,
Okay.
yes.
But so, what do you make? First of all, I have to ask you, the Prime Minister said he knew Jasmine Harton. He said hi once or twice. He didn't know the name of the superintendent, but he did know the name of the socialite. Mm-hmm. Did you know Jasmine Harton? I know you are a bon vivant that stays at all the finest resorts in the country.
Well, you asked me if I know her like when you were asking me if I knew or met Lev Derman, but no, I guess it's not the same exact comparison. No, I met her once. I met her once in passing on a plane en route to San Pedro. She was sitting next to her father-in-law, Lord Michael Ashcroft. And I had just recently said some not so nice things about him in the Senate. And he reminded me of that on the plane, but we were cordial to each other. So, yes, I only met her once. Only met her once.
So what do you make? Much has been made of the manslaughter charge. You know, people want a stronger charge, but as someone who was a prosecutor, has been an attorney for almost 20 years, what do you make of the manslaughter by negligence charge?
Well, you know, I have to respect and defer to the police and whatever they came up with. They must know why they preferred that charge. It was sent to the DPP, from what I understand, and that was, according to the police, the charge that she wanted to lay against the accused person. They must know why they brought that charge. The court will determine what to do with her, and we have to respect the process. It does, it will be dishonest of me not to at least say what I think in this case. I mean, it's hard to, from my experience, most people from who I have known to be in the system, you injure somebody like that, the charge is murder. So it's a legitimate question to ask, why is it in this case the charge was not murder?
Suppose he had pulled the trigger accidentally, quote, on her. Do you think he would have been charged with manslaughter by negligence?
If he had shot her, if it had been the reverse, he would have been charged for triple murder. I mean, you know, that's the thing. That's
so you believe race and power are at play here?
Absolutely. I think it is a legitimate question. I'm not saying it's at play, but I'm saying it's a legitimate question to ask. Many people we have seen situations where you don't see why there was a murder charge in that case. It could have easily been manslaughter. You get to court, the person has been remanded for 5 years, and then the same prosecution come and say, we want to offer manslaughter.
Well, we have Mr. Villatoro in prison right now. He said that he accidentally shot Officer Guy, but they charge him for murder.
Right. We have to respect the process of the police and the prosecution. However, it is a fair question to ask. Or, remember our senior hall used to have this thing on the show, things that make you go, It is very curious that many people in these same circumstances have been charged for murder, and this person, it seems as if though they went out of their way and great pains that fact to make sure she wasn't charged with murder. That is a legitimate question for the police.
Do you think it irregular that they have taken on face value the claim that he was shot with his own weapon when they have not done for a ballistics cross match, or at the time of charging, a ballistics cross match with the slug that went through him if it was retrieved was indeed fired from his weapon?
Absolutely. You know, Jules, many times as a defense attorney, when you would try to deal with the police and you're talking with them and you're trying to explain that this is what your client wants and this is what happened, and many witness statements and caution statements that my clients have given would indicate clearly that manslaughter would be the better charge. But the police officers would tell me all the time, listen to me, Mr. Perifi, with the charge for murder, sort it out when you get to court, okay? It is amazing to me that you have a superintendent of police. Listen, that's a big rank, you know. That's a superintendent of police shot in the head, and the only other person that you have there is the accused person. And it's amazing to me, given the circumstances, that that person is not charged with murder. However, like I said, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I have to respect the process. But it does make me wonder, and I do have that as a legitimate question to the police.
Switching subjects, what is your feeling about, and it's something that we have discussed, I sense from the government of the day, if not contempt, a significant lack of respect for the media. They feel, the vibe I get is that the media is in the way, and this was demonstrated very amply when they pulled the plug on the live broadcast, going against the legal mandate of the Commission of Inquiry led by your and my hero, Senior Counsel Marshal-elect. I know how much you were loving those hearings. You're missing them so much.
No, I was dying to be called, man. I want to be heard. No, but Jules, man, no, listen, I have to jump on you know. You were very vicious against the UDP just now, but you seem to be very tame in your criticism of the PUP when it comes to their media access and what they give you. The Minister of Blue Economy was just here. Why you never ask him just now? You should have been asking just now, why is it that your Prime Minister, after 7 months in office, has not called a press conference to be asked questions by the media? The UDP has called about 4 or 5. I mean, why don't they believe that they need to give information to the public? Why don't they believe they have to be transparent like they said they would be?
No.
But I believe that the media is pussyfooting around it. I think the media has become very soft when it comes to the PUP, to be honest with you.
Fair criticism. My question is, the information regime that your government had with Ask the Experts, we know that it was extremely at its height, extremely looked at because people wanted the information.
Far more viewership than this show, by the way.
Far more view. You have been on bigger stages than this. Sir.
You are no Dorian Pakeman, sir.
Every morning I wake up and confront that sad reality. I hardly have the courage to carry on knowing that. But my question is, Mike, on Ask the Experts, a certain interface was set. Now we see Dr. Manza on the monitor, and we know Dr. Manza and everything he represented was renounced.
Right.
And that whole mode was renounced. Fine.
Right.
But I'm saying that there is, in my opinion, clearly a disconnect between the Ministry of Health, the flow of information, and the public and the press on the other side. And there is contempt in between because in my opinion, the Ministry of Health, anything that it cannot monetize to its advantage, it will not utilize.
Right.
And that really is the contempt, and I will say that plainly. And I invite Minister Shabat to come here and say otherwise. But my question is, what do you think accounts for this shift? Obviously, they have to do things their own way. We can't expect they'll maintain us, the experts, etc. But you've been in government. What are the types of conversations that lead to these types of shifts?
Well, first of all, I don't think they have the talent to deliver the information to the public. That's one.
Folks,
That's one. And second of all, it's just a difference in philosophy. The United Democratic Party believed at the time when we were in government that the people had a right to the information. People wanted to know what was going on. And not everybody can be in the mood to read an essay or to dissect an essay. Not everybody is a lawyer, and everybody can understand certain legal terms that they want clarified. And that is why the government at the time decided to have the Attorney General on the TV to explain what were the different nuances of the SIs that came out. I see the last time the SI was expired, you can't tell me that the government forgot that it expired and hurriedly the commissioner of police had to protect them and jump in with an
He's
SI.
the king.
So what happens is that it is their philosophy, quite opposite to what they put in their manifesto and what they sold to the Belizean public. What they sold to the Belizean public before the general election was a government of transparency. And they have been anything but transparent. And I believe
but
that...
you can't say that. The Prime Minister has done 3 media interviews since he came back from Guatemala. He did one on love. He appeared on Open Your Eyes. He did another with Sherry
So why hasn't he called a press conference?
It's just a different style,
Well,
Mike.
it's not a different style. Every time that they give information, they want to give it in a controlled environment. They would be doing something with the public and they only ask the press office to attend. They don't invite the entire media. You can say what you want about the Right Honorable Dean Barrow, but when he was governing this country, he wanted the press there. He took the tough questions. We all took the tough questions.
Sure, Dean Barrow didn't make public appearances.
We were not ashamed. We were not ashamed to give out information, even information that we knew that would not be pleasant, because we believe that the people had a right to know. This PUP government believes that people don't have to know. They believe that they are all powerful and they don't have to answer to anybody and they don't have to talk to anybody. And basically what the PUP is saying, you all voted for me, you have to wait 2025. In the meantime, screw you if you don't like what I'm doing.
I think that's an unfair and inaccurate characterization.
That's their attitude. I never expected you to be an apologist for the PUP Jews.
No, sir, but
one does never cease. You're a communist and a PUP in one night. Oh, my goodness.
But, Mike, how do you feel being the COVID godfather, so to speak, in terms of when it came time to mainstream COVID information, regardless of the many criticisms one may have for you and your unelectability?
No, you had to get back at me. You had to get at me. You remember, you sound like Shaquille O'Neal and I'm Charles Barkley having won a championship.
No, but I'm just saying that you know, you occupied at certain moment in history and you owned it.
Well, I wasn't trying to make history. I wasn't trying to own any moment. It was just a simple policy of the government that we have to let the people be informed of what's going on. This is a disease that can kill you. So at the very least, while we may not have had the equipment and all the niceties that first world countries have, the least we could do is to inform the people as to where we were and to make sure that they could take the steps that were necessary and that could be taken given our situation.
But it was much more likely to kill you under the UDP because the PUP have brought COVID under control.
They have? Well,
look at the numbers.
I don't believe their numbers. And you see recently, there seems to be a new rise in the numbers. So they need to make up their mind. Listen, I would love for them to solve it, I would love for them to say that there is no COVID in the Belize. I'm not wishing
but the
COVID
PUP is managing COVID better than the UDP
But make up yourself.
They're opening the economy.
You just said that you have, in your opinion, you have a Minister of Health who only does things that he can monetize, but yet they're doing a better job. Come on, Jews, man. And not only that, too. It's easy to say you're doing a better job now because we're further along in the process. You have access to vaccines. You have access to a lot of things that the UDP didn't have.
So you don't think the PUP is managing COVID better than
Listen
UDP?
to me.
You won't concede that?
If the UDP were in government right now, given our knowledge and expertise when it first hit, and given how we handled it, we would have been far better off than they are right now.
If the UDP were in government right now, the country would still be shut down because you are managed through fear.
No, not at all. But in the beginning, you have to shut down because you have to be able to contain the system to determine and learn what's going on. Like, for example, if you ask my opinion now, I think there's no longer any need for a curfew. In my opinion, I think we have gotten to the point where we can impose our rules and regulations when it comes to mask wearing, social distancing, encouraging people to get the vaccination. That's where we are now. In my view, you don't need the curfew again. In the beginning, you did, because what we had to do in the beginning, at the very least, is to maintain some form of order. That was the only thing we could do at the beginning. So with our knowledge then, if we were in charge, no. Come on, man. There's no comparison. There is no comparison. And your combative nature will not allow you to admit this. But there was no comparison between how we handled it and how they're handling it.
Final question of the night. Are you encouraging your mom to go to the casino, or are you begging her to stay home?
No, actually, I prefer when she goes because then she's in a much better mood at the end of the day. But I think she's just she's trying to be safe. You know, no, she's not a young chick anymore. Certainly not a spring chicken. And her safety is of paramount importance, and she believes she needs to be around for her grandchildren because she's totally ashamed of her children and wants to see her grandchildren.
In your case, with good reason.
No, she said, yes, I'm the one that brings down the average. Combined together, they're about a C or D. I'm the one that brings it to an F.
We want to thank the chairman of the UDP. He's always game, and he took all the hard questions with a laugh. Because
it's no big deal, sir. You're making a bigger deal of something that's not a big deal.
When you ain't got nothing, you ain't got nothing to lose.
Well, that's it. That could be too. There's no way to go for us than to rebuild and get better. That's a good thing. Something good. That's a very good thing.
We want to thank Mike Prefit, always willing, always game to take on the questions. Thanks for joining us on UNCUT. Join us again next week when we'll have another exciting guest.